The lack of available housing in Bloomington-Normal has enabled property managers to be much more selective in who they'll rent to.
But it is difficult right now because there's such a demand for any apartment that landlords can be more selective.
More coming up on Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm John Norton. Also on today's show, a nonprofit that helps Bloomington-Normal youth breaks ground on an expansion.
This space will serve more kids, more families, and provide new opportunities for teens to reach their full potential.
And today's Black History Essay Contest winner shares lessons in resilience from various historical figures who challenge the status quo. Those stories follow a Bloomington-Normal news update. This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.
Support for WGLT comes from Bloomington-Normal Audiology. Hear My Story continues with local patients Ralph and Carol Weisheit.
For a long time, it was considered something that just affects old people. I think it's going to become less of a stigma and less of something that, that's just for old people. It'll be more like glasses.
Ralph and Carol's full story can be found at bnaudiology.com.
From the campus of Illinois State University in Normal, this is WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. I'm John Norton. It's getting harder, not easier, to find housing in Bloomington-Normal. The McLean County Housing Coalition has issued an update to its 2-year-old report. Coalition member Janet Hood of Mid-Central Community Action says vacancy rates remain low, so there are many applicants for each apartment. In this interview with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Hood says the numbers of people with unstable housing and the unhoused are increasing across the county.
From 2021, we've gone up about 1,085 people experiencing homelessness that we can document. So I know it's getting worse, and I also know that across the United States, just not here, but we can assume it's going to happen here, that homelessness has increased about 9.7% over prior year. The trajectory is completely upward in our community.
How about the pattern of evictions?
It is solid. It is not changing. I would say it has decreased a little bit from COVID, but we are still seeing a great number of evictions.
What are the cyclical and systemic barriers that make housing less stable for people?
An affordable income for workforce individuals in our community. These would be people at 200% of poverty. For instance, if you're a family of four, $60,000 is poverty level where I could still help you if you needed help. So just figure if you're making $14, $15 an hour, that's not going to give you a stable income if that is the only income in the household.
What is the income required for a single person to be not rent burdened so that they don't have to pay more than half their income towards rent?
It's different because it depends on not only a job, it depends on if you have other kinds of income, like unemployment, SSDI, child support. It's an individual story for everyone because it depends on what your sustainable income. And for me, sustainable income says that when I add your rent and your utilities together, those two cannot be more than 75% of your income for a month. So again, it's very individualized depending upon each family.
How do credit, eviction history, lack of rental history, or criminal history complicate the effort to get housing?
It is more difficult in the community if you have any of the areas that you've just mentioned in your past. It's not insurmountable, but it is difficult right now because there's such a demand for any apartment that landlords can be more selective.
Does having poor credit snowball as one tries to get housing?
Yes. Every time you go and make an application, if an individual and a landlord are in serious discussions and a landlord does a credit check, your credit score will go down each time. So if you are trying 4 or 5 different places and you get to the point where you're getting a credit check. And that's not saying anything against the landlords. That's just saying the process. Every time somebody does a draw on a credit check, your credit score will go down.
So the system really conspires to work against some people.
It is difficult sometimes. It's generally 70% of those who are rehoused are fully employed in areas such as healthcare, service industry, retail, and manufacturing. I know for us, they can come to us and we can help them, or I can collaborate with other not-for-profits in the community where we can try to find some services and cobble together resources.
Let's talk about the actual people who are homeless rather than those who are unstable and needing assistance. What's the trend line in demand on the organizations that provide services to the homeless?
Going up, especially, we're seeing a lot of mothers with children. About 30% of the last quarter of 2023 were mothers with children that were homeless. I know that Home Sweet Home family area right at the moment is full. It's very, very difficult. We have moms that are working, and sometimes if they, depending upon the time of the month and the time of the paycheck, they might get a hotel for a night or two. Otherwise, they'll be sleeping in their car with their kids. Families will take them from time to time, and friends. There's no stability there. And so that's where we're really trying. So far in 2024, the first quarter is about over, for just the walk-in intakes of getting basic information of people who either are or may be getting ready to go and look for an apartment or house. We've had close to 100 people come through my doors. Of those, I think by the end of next week, we probably will have housed 10 families.
That's Janet Hood, the housing navigator at Mid-Central Community Action. As she continues her conversation with Charlie Schlenker, she puts a human face on the housing shortage.
Gabriella, she made less than $1,000 a month. She shared one room with 7 other women and children in a 3-bedroom home with 30 total residents, all recently arrived immigrants to the United States. She was confident that now she had a work permit and an SSN, she'd be able to find a better situation. Gabriella paid over $700 in application fees. She was denied dozens of properties and no credit history, no tax record, no rental history. Then, God bless her, she found a company that was willing to rent to her, but they required a co-signer because she had no credit history. She was vulnerable as she was desperately searching for a co-signer. A man seeking to take advantage saw this as an opportunity to exploit her. He abused her physically, emotionally, and financially. After the man fled the state, she returned to the house with 30 occupants.
Is that a pretty common story, that kind of thing?
We do hear it.
What about the other 29 people? A house shouldn't have 30 people in it, a 3-bedroom house.
I totally agree. But where are they going to stay? These are people that are hard-working individuals.
These are the kinds of stories you would expect in a huge urban area, Chicago and New York, Detroit, or something like that. But they're happening in Bloomington-Normal.
Well, you say it's large urban areas, but let me talk to you a little bit about Lorena. She had an immigration-friendly cash-paying job. Because she couldn't find any other rentals due to a lack of credit history and the inability to prove income, Lorena prepaid 6 months of rent to a ghost landlord who never provided a contact information, never even maintained the property. Lorena and her children were living in a house infested with rats that had chewed holes in the gas line, caused a gas leak, and emergency gas shutoff. The water pipes froze and burst. This family spent a winter freezing, being bitten by rats, even though they had income and funding was available to help them. There simply were no other rentals that would accept them In the spring, they abandoned the rental, declaring that they would be more comfortable sleeping in the field.
What are the cyclical and systemic barriers that make housing less stable for people?
An affordable income for workforce individuals in our community. These would be people at 200% of poverty. For instance, if you're a family of four, $60,000 is poverty level where I could still help you if you needed help. So just figure if you're making $14, $15 an hour, that's not going to give you a stable income if that is the only income in the household.
What is the income required for a single person to be not rent burdened so that they don't have to pay more than half their income towards rent?
It's different because it depends on not only a job, it depends on if you have other kinds of income, like unemployment, SSDI, child support. It's an individual story for everyone because it depends on what your sustainable income. And for me, sustainable income says that when I add your rent and your utilities together, those two cannot be more than 75% of your income for a month. So again, it's very individualized depending upon each family.
The report update indicates that over the last 2 years, there's been an increase in coordination and consultation about agencies talking to each other. What still needs to be improved on coordination of services?
Including more people in the conversation. We, since the Housing Coalition came into effect in my role, we now do twice a month case management meetings, and where we bring case managers to the table and discuss, services various agencies offer. If you've gotten any funding, what is it for? Is it direct service? So we all have a better idea of what's available from each agency.
Janet Hood is the housing navigator at Mid-Central Community Action and part of the McLean County Housing Coalition. Hood says for every low and moderate income apartment opening, there are up to 25 applicants. She spoke with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker. You can read more about the McLean County Housing Coalition report and its recommendations at WGLT.org. The city of Bloomington now has one office to book concerts and manage all the events at its two downtown entertainment venues, Grosinger Motors Arena and the Bloomington Center for the Performing Arts. And the two put one man in charge of running both venues. We check in with Anthony Nelson on how it's been going after a couple of recent concert sellouts tomorrow on WGLT's Sound Ideas.
The European Union has new legislation that'll regulate artificial intelligence. Trouble is going to be finding the right people to do the regulating. We'll tell you about that next time on Marketplace.
Listen to Marketplace beginning at 5:30 this afternoon on WGLT, sponsored by SEFCU.
Juilliard's dance program started in 1951 and is known for pushing boundaries. Now it's going even further because of Alicia Graf Mack, the first Black person and youngest person to be the dance division's dean and director.
I have always been sort of the unicorn or the standout.
How Juilliard is changing tomorrow on Morning Edition from NPR News.
This is Steve Inskeep. Listen to Morning Edition weekdays from 4 to 9 a.m. on WGLT.
This is Sound Ideas, WGLT's news magazine. I'm John Norton. Since opening, the Bloomington nonprofit Project Oz has more than doubled the number of young people it serves. The staff has grown more than 30% in size and now caters to over 7,000 youth and adolescents. To accommodate, the nonprofit is expanding. WGLT's Melissa Ellen went to the groundbreaking event for its building extension.
Project Oz has been helping at-risk and homeless youth in the area for half a century. It's done so from the same location in West Bloomington. But the nonprofit's board chair, Craig McCormick, says that's no longer cutting it.
We have figuratively and physically grown out of our space.
McCormick said this to a crowd gathered for Project Oz's long-anticipated building expansion, which CEO Lisa Thompson says the nonprofit finally has the funds to support. She tells WGLT the official groundwork is likely to start this week. Project Oz is doing all this not only to reach more youth, but also to make room for the Youth Education and Support Center. Thompson says the center will allow for service expansion and feature technology stations, additional and more comfortable seating, and laundry space for homeless adolescents in need. Here's Thompson at the groundbreaking event Thursday.
This space will serve more kids, more families, and provide new opportunities for teens to reach their full potential.
Thompson says the center could open in as early as 6 months. In total, there will be 2,400 square feet of added space. Kristen Hawthorne has been through Project Oz programming herself and drove from Kentucky for the ceremony and open house that followed. Hawthorne found Project Oz when she was 20. At that time, she had a child, was pregnant with another, and was dealing with domestic and sexual abuse. She was also struggling to find employment due to a 2-year-old felony conviction.
I was extremely broken. I wasn't hopeful at the time.
Project Oz offered a helping hand. She spent 2 years in its programming and became self-sufficient by the time she graduated.
But I honestly just can't see my success without having Project Oz in it.
Hawthorne has also served on Project Oz's Transitional Living Program board. She says she wants to see others benefit from the nonprofit, as she has.
To see this expanding, I'm just really excited to see the different people that are going to come in, the people that are going to be affected by that in a positive way, and really hoping that it won't just be a small building that people see when they drive by.
Conversations about expansion have been ongoing for years, but Project Oz launched its $1.1 million capital campaign to fund it last year. CEO Lisa Thompson says the nonprofit met its funding goal largely through donor support and that a bank loan helped it reach the finish line. The city of Bloomington contributed $250,000 of pandemic relief funding in the summer of 2023, which launched the project. Mayor Mboka Molamwe spoke at the groundbreaking about the city's support of the effort.
An investment in youth is an investment in the future of our community, and this was a no-brainer for us.
I'm Melissa Ellen.
Melissa Ellen covers mental health as a Report for America Corps member. Report for America places journalists in local newsrooms across the nation to cover underreported topics.
Support for WGLT mental health coverage comes from Report for America and Chestnut Health Systems, caring for the community's physical and mental health and celebrating 50 years of service.
Thanks for joining us on Sound Ideas. I'm John Norton. The second place Grade School Division Award in Bloomington's Black History Essay Contest goes to a student at Oakland School in Bloomington. This week, WGLT is broadcasting students reading their essays. Aralua Jagetta is a fourth grader. Jagetta honors a number of historical figures and the lessons they have for him.
The title of my essay is Honoring the Past, Inspiring the Future. Long before the Black History Month was officially recognized, February 1976, and celebrated until now, many Black Americans, through their resilience and the ability to utilize their most valuable assets, have challenged the status quo, both in the United States and globally. For example, in the United States, the focus on ongoing inequities during the Black History Month has sparked social movements and activism, demand for policy changes and reforms. From the civil rights movement to Black Lives Matter, Black History Month has served as a platform for assembling communities and demanding justice. Another example is the increased awareness of Black achievements, which has led to greater representation in various fields, from education and media to politics, sports, and business. These challenge historical patterns of exclusion and discrimination, paving the way for a more diverse and equitable society. Globally, Black History Month has fostered international solidarity with Black communities across the globe. It has highlighted the shared experiences of racism and discrimination faced by Black people worldwide, leading to collaborative movements and advocacy efforts. Examples of Black Americans who have risen above obstacles through their resilience and the use of their most valuable assets and thus have challenged the status quo are Dr. Shirley Jackson, 1896 to 1967, Dr. Charles Drew, 1906 to 1950, Katherine Johnson, 1918 to 2020, Jackie Robinson, 1919 to 1972, Coretta Scott King, 1927 to 2005, Muhammad Ali, 1942 to 2016, Octavia Butler, 1947 to 2006, Oprah Winfrey, 1954 till date, Ruby Bridges, 1954 till date, Dr. Mae Jemison, 1956 till date, Barack Obama, 1961 till date, Serena Williams, 1981 till date, Simone Biles, 1997 till date. One of my favorites from the above lists is Jackie Robinson. A baseball legend, he used his exceptional athleticism and unwavering resilience to break racial barriers in Major League Baseball. Jackie faced immense hostility and prejudice as the first black player in the MLB, but he endured taunts and threats and was successful on the field. By doing so, Jackie Robinson paved the way for future generations of athletes and demonstrated the power of athletic excellence and perseverance in dismantling segregation. Another favorite is Ruby Bridges, who at the age of 6 used her courage and resilience as assets to integrate an all-white school in New Orleans. Facing daily hostility and threats, Ruby bravely attended school each day, paving the way for future generations and demonstrating the power of individual courage in challenging segregation. As an African child, learning about and celebrating Black History Month has taught me the importance of recognizing, appreciating, and utilizing my God-given talents or gifts, as well as the need to build resilience, to persevere, and to be encouraged when faced with challenges. As such, I am optimistic that my future dream of becoming a quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs is achievable despite challenges or obstacles that may come my way. By efficiently utilizing my God-given talents and fulfilling my future dream, and by demonstrating great resilience in face of trials, I believe I can help promote Black History Month and make proud the entire African race. Thank you, listeners, and God bless.
That's Aralua Jagetta, a fourth grader at Oakland Elementary in District 87. Jagetta is the second place winner in the grade school division of this year's City of Bloomington Black History Essay Contest. If you missed any of the readings we aired on Sound Ideas last week, you can find them right now at WGLT.org. Charlie Schlenker produced this reading. And that's Sound Ideas today. WGLT's news magazine is made possible in part by Bloomington-Normal Audiology. I'm John Norton. Thanks to Charlie Schlenker and Melissa Ellen for the stories on Sound Ideas today. Ryan Toohey edits the show. This is 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.